Hi everybody, it's the Gaming Yuki once again giving you guys another tutorial, and today we're going to be talking about MelonDS and the configuration settings. So in the last two tutorials for this particular emulator, we talked about how to get started, how to download emulation games, and we talked about how to set up your emulator to play. For example, the emulation settings. We talked about how to get the files. If you guys want to take a look at those videos, make sure you guys take a look at the videos at the end so that you guys can get caught up with this tutorial series. Today we're going to take a look more on the configuration settings. So up under configuration, when you go to your MelonDS, go to config, and we're going to take a look at each one. EMU settings or emulation settings shows us that this is where you need to do the whole shebang when you need to get the files. If you do not know where to get the files, I will have a video for you guys in the description to take a look at, as well at the end of the screen. Make sure you guys take a look at this. So DS mode, now general, console type, you have two options, DS and DSi. The most common one is going to be DS because that's the most simple one. DSi is currently in experimental mode as of this build. Now for boot game directly, if you have this on DS mode, that is okay. However, if you put DSi mode, I would like you to do not boot game directly. It does not work for some reason. I'm not sure why, but that's how it is. On DS mode, you're going to see these files. You are required to have the files I'm going to give you in the description in terms of the link to get them. Make sure you guys take a look at that. It will be in that video file as well. DSi mode is the same thing. You need the files for that. I have the files, but I'm not going to put them in. But that is what you need to get here. Again, in that other video. CPU emulation, I usually take away, I usually do not put JIT and recompiler by default. DLDI refers to homebrew content for SD card. Now this is not required for emulation to start. It's just there for you if you want to use some homebrew content. If I do get a hold on the SD card, I will give you a tutorial specifically for this. When you put your files in here for the DS mode, DS ARM9 and ARM7 files, as well as the DS firmware, press OK to get started. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other settings up on board, including input and hotkeys. So basically, that is your controller. And the way I usually play ROM hacks and games, I use a controller like this one. That is my PS4 controller connected with a USB. So you can set up your controller by, but if you are using a keyboard, you go on the left side. If you're using a controller like I am, go on the right side. For A, you want to know what the DS, how a DS looks like. And I'm going to show you guys that right now. So if we go to a Nintendo DS, let's take a look at the buttons. So what you want to do is you want to try to make your controller as close as possible to the DS. So we have B, A, and then I believe YX, XY, BA. So on your controller, if you have a PS4 controller per se, we can say, we can go back to the emulator here. So my A will be my circle button. So we're going to press the A button and we're going to press circle. Now, the reason why it says button 2, because on mapping on the PS4 controller, your circle button is going to be button 2 by default. Your B button will be your X button or button 1. Your X button is going to be your square or button 3. Your Y button is going to be your triangle, or as they say, button 4. Left is going to be your left on the control pad or button 14. right is going to be 15, up is going to be 12, down is going to be 13. L and R is up to you. I usually prefer the back two buttons here. So L should be L2, and that would be trigger 5. R should be trigger 6, or right R2. Your start and select should be your share button on PS4, and on start it's be on the options button or button 7. Now keep in mind you cannot change the numbers on these buttons because they correspond to the mapping of a PS4 controller. So I'm gonna link you to a little infographic on the button numbers later on. There's also something called add-ons, but only if you know about the Boktai Sunlight Plus, which is not required for a game, and general hotkeys as well. So general hotkeys, if you would like to do any of these things here, you are free to put into play, including microphone, fast forward, toggle FPS, or toggle full screen. The reason why you would like to have a microphone is because there are some games like Pokemon Ranger that require the use of a microphone. So you want to play with that. Other than that, the DS keypad and add-ons are your best bet for your input and hotkeys configuration. Let's go on to video settings. So on video settings, you have the following options. You have the 3D render, you have software or OpenGL and OpenGL display. Use separate thread if you are using a software renderer, that is usually checked. Now if you if you check this or OpenGL, if you press this as OpenGL, this option has the opportunity to open up. So internal resolution is up to you on this one, but I would always do whatever the default is with the software, just to make sure you don't mess anything up, and then press OK. Under the next one is we're gonna go to audio. Audio settings have to do with your sounds. The bitrate usually I would put it as automatic. Interpolation I would say none. Volume at full max here. Microphone input usually is going to be your external microphone. External microphone is like the one I'm using for videos, or something that you usually buy like at Amazon. Press OK if you are satisfied with your settings. The next one is Wi-Fi. Now this one is a little bit interesting. Usually I keep whatever the default is here for MelonDS, because unless you know anything about like networking or anything like that, you cannot use this. Press OK. Next one, we're going to talk about the interface settings. The interface settings are referred to the interface, of course, and here's how it works. Hide mouse after inactivity, meaning like you're going to hide the mouse input after X amount of minutes, and you can set that up. Or you can do the pause emulation when window is not in focus, meaning like let's just say I'm playing a game right now, Mario, and then I click out up to the desktop, then the emulation is gonna pause when you put this on check. But for the most part, I usually keep both of these unchecked. Next setting, we're gonna take a look at save settings, save state settings, and this one is for save states. By default, it's not on separate save files. But if you want to do on default by you want to put the separate save files, just press this button and you'll be okay. Screen size, very straightforward. The screen size of your emulator. If we go to 1x, it looks like this. And if we go to 2x, it looks like this. 3x, it will look like this, and so on and so forth, only up to 4x. We're gonna go back to 2. Next setting we're gonna take a look at is gonna be screen rotation. Now this will apply for a game, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open up a game, and I'm going to open up let's say Mario Hoops 3-on-3. Okay, so as you guys can see here, if we go to config again, and then we go to, let's say, screen rotation, if we put 90 degrees, this is how it's going to look like. If we put it at 180, it's going to go backside. And then if we go to 70, it looks like this. So when we go back to 0, and it's going to go back to normal like this, as you guys can see. Next setting we're going to take a look at is screen gap, and as you guys can see, there is a screen gap with this black line, and if we take it away, there's a 0. If we go ahead and do 8, that's the screen gap of 8 pixels. As you guys can see, this line got bigger. Now you might be wondering, what is this useful for? Well, this is going to be useful for if you have like a stream, and you can, if you want to add something to something like that, like a scoreboard in the middle and stuff like that, or something unique for your stream, you can actually do that if you go to screen gap and go to 90 pixels, and then maybe if you have like a contest or like something, you can actually put something in here. Let's see how far 270 will take us. 128. So as you guys can see, at 128, you can put this space for like something like your logo, or like a stream information, like what you'll be playing, or something in that matter to make it more unique. Now that is just a gap, but you never know what you can do with that. So we're gonna actually go back to 0. Now we're gonna put this back over here. Next setting we're gonna take a look at is screen layout. Now screen layout by default is gonna be like this. Okay, so that is the default one right here, this boy right here. If we go back, if we take a look at vertical, that's vertical, like a DS. Then if we take a look at horizontal, we're going to take a look at this, like that. Now you can resize it at any time as well. And if we take a look at hybrid, as you guys can see, we have the big boy over here, which is the big screen at the top, and then we have the mini layout of the bottom screen. So what is this useful for? Usually I see these in streams with the DS, where they put something on the top and like the game on the bottom. So that is like useful for that. Also in play, under screen layout, you can swap. So the bottom screen goes here and the top screen goes here in terms of a hybrid. So that is the bottom screen, your game screen. Okay, and we're gonna take a look at how to set up like a stream with a DS game with different parts of the layout. The next setting we're going to take a look at is going to be, I'm going to go back to horizontal, but the next one we're going to take a look at is going to be screen sizing. So even means the screen is going to be even size. But if you put emphasize top, then the top screen, when we do anything, as you guys can see, is going to be bigger than the one on the bottom. And then same thing if we change this to emphasize bottom, when we resize, the bottom screen gets bigger and the top screen gets smaller. If we do auto, then that means by automatically, if we resize it, it's going to resize based on how you resize the window, like I'm doing here. You see how when we're resizing it, the window sizes get bigger or smaller based on the window size. And then top only means the top only. And obviously the bottom only means the bottom only. Now why would you use this? Well, there's a few ways. There's a few things you can go around that. And that's because sometimes streamers usually use the top screen on the bottom screen on the big boy, then they put like a bottom screen on the top for a DS game. That's how that goes. Aspect ratio has to deal with how it looks as well. If we take a look at top 69, as you guys can see, when we resize, you see how it resizes, but the window is not going to resize unless you do. It's 69. If we do 21 to 9, look at how the top screen gets a little bit wider than the bottom. You see how it's wider at the top for the top screen. If we go to top window, that means look at how big this boy is. And let's go back to normal here. Same thing on the bottom screen. The bottom gets wider, the top screen gets smaller. Take a look at 21.9. Again, bottom screen gets wider and the top screen gets smaller. And let's go back to normal here. 4.3 is your native. And then the next one is screen filtering. As you guys can see, that is unfiltered, and then we put screen filtering, it looks like this. So one more time. Non-filtered, filter. And that's basically it for the settings, except for limit frame rate and audio sync. Limit frame rate deals with if you're going to limit the frame rate. If you put this off, then it's going to go faster like that, and we don't want that for a few reasons. You're going to break the game. What you want to do is limit the frame rate so that it goes as smooth as possible. Oops, let me turn that off. Audio sync deals with the audio, but usually you turn it off. And that's basically it for the emulator, for the configuration settings. If you guys enjoy what you see, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications, because I'm going to do more emulation material, including Dolphin Emulator, which is going to be able to play Wii games and GameCube games, and I'm going to do that soon. Enjoy.